Alright, legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're doing another little episode of Angel in this episode. Little chat about it, and just this is the horror appreciation podcast in all its forms, not just movies but TV shows as well. So, yeah, we're doing Buffy and Angel, and at the moment on Fridays we're going through the Halloween movies. So this one here is episode 5 of season 1 of Angel. The episode is called Room with a View. Although the title itself is RMW/AVU, Room with a View. So this episode, Cordelia is needing a new apartment or a new place to live in, and Doyle gets into trouble for some of his checks and balances not balancing, more or less. People are after him for money in this episode, and it's a good episode, and one that when I originally watched it, it did catch me out the end to it. So if you don't want this one spoiled, by all means turn this podcast off, don't give me the listen, go check out the episode. It's a really, really good one. Much better than I'd given it credit for when I was watching it the first time. It's one of these ones that kind of catches you off guard. You think this is going to be one of these crap little episodes, but it actually turns out to have a really, really good ending to it. So I'm going to spoil the crap out of it for you in this episode of the podcast. So at the beginning, Cordelia, she's upset that she's went for yet another casting for a TV commercial. It didn't work out well. She didn't get it. She's going over her lines, and demonstrating to Doyle what she done. And of course, he's madly in love with her, so he's like, I would have hired you on the spot, more or less. So she's down in the dumps that the acting career, it's not advancing at all. The apartment she's living in is a complete disaster. The utilities don't work. There's cockroaches running freely. So she actually goes home that night, and she turns on her TV, and she sees a cockroach crawling across the screen, and she freaks out. And Cordelia ends up calling Doyle. Last thing she wants to do. He even, at the beginning of the episode, offered her, if you ever want a night to get away from it, you can come and stay at my place, doing his best to be the knight in shining armour for her, but it's not his style. Well, he wants to be cooler than he actually is, that sort of deal. But, yeah, she tries to call him, can't get hold of him, because there's guys turned up at his place looking for money. So Doyle goes on the run at one point, but Doyle offers her to help Cordelia find a new place. Yeah, so where are we at now? Yeah, she's fled the apartment. Tries to call Doyle, but he's getting visited by a demon that's come to collecting one of Doyle's debts. Doyle manages to escape. He doesn't know that he's missed a call from Cordelia. So she turns up at Angel's apartment, spends the night there. She turns up with her suitcases and all packed. Angel's not at all happy with her messy habits, but Doyle turns up the next morning. She's sitting in the kitchen. She's got a dressing gown on her. And Angel, he comes out of his bedroom just after getting a shower and whatnot, and he's just a towel around him, and he's complaining about you've got peanut butter all over the bed. So of course Doyle puts 2 and 2 together and comes up with 5 million, and he's like, how could you, I was crazy about her. But Angel's like, something's wrong with her apartment. She stayed the night, and he's that annoyed by her that he offers to take care of Doyle's demon problems in exchange for Doyle getting her an apartment. So Doyle and Cordelia, they go hunting for apartments, and everything they see is a disaster. And but Doyle, he's saying the whole time, I know a guy that's got a great place. She doesn't want to hear of it because of the other disasters of Doyle's guys. So eventually, she lets Doyle, what about your guy? Let's go check out that place. So turns out this apartment that this guy had picked up for them or got word of, even the girl that's showing them around the apartment, she's like, it just became available. I don't even know how you found out about it. And Doyle gives her this side eye sort of glance and a little cheeky grin. And she's like, this is absolutely perfect. It's her. Obviously, since leaving Sunnydale, we know what happened there. She was the popular girl in high school, lots of money, rich parents, but they lost it all because they weren't paying their taxes. So she went from riches to rags in the matter of a few weeks, more or less. And this apartment is kind of like her attempt to regain the person she was. But they agree to take it, but she tells Doyle that there's an unsightly wall that needs to be removed, and that'll just add to the perfection of it. So, deal closed. In the meantime, Angel, he's at Doyle's apartment. He's waiting for this demon to turn up. Guy called Griff. They fight, and Griff, he explains that his boss no longer cares about the money, but he needs to make an example of Doyle by having him killed. Angel says, I'll get Doyle to pay. So they come to an agreement, or so we think at this point. Meanwhile, back at Cordelia's apartment, she discovers that the apartment is haunted when the music plays. The radio turns on, starts playing by itself. So she's stuck on top. Her bed starts to levitate during the night, and there's all these noise and ghostly things happening. And the next morning, she's like going around her apartment. She moves this chair out a little bit. She's just like, fresh day, nothing bad here. Not going to get freaked out. And when she closes the mirror in the bathroom, you see this old woman stand behind her, and obviously the ghost. So she's moving chairs about the sitting room. There's a little chair just as she walks through the door, and she moves it a little bit, and of course the chair moves itself back, and then she moves it out further, and the chair crashes against the wall and shatters. Just as Doyle and Angel turn up, and she opens the door, Doyle walks in, and Cordelia's like, oh, of course you can't come in unless I invite you, and before she gets a chance to say anything, even, finish her sentence, it's just like, oh yeah, you can't come in unless, and Angel walks through the door, and he's like, you said whenever you got a place, I was totally invited over, so she's like, oh, these rules are a bit weird, Anyway, they're not there that long to, it's very clear to both Angel and Doyle that the place is haunted. They get Cordelia out of the apartment. She's struggling as they're dragging her out through the door, promising that they'll perform an exorcism. And I'll die before I give up this place. And when they leave, you hear the voice of the ghost of this old lady say, okay, dearie, if that's what you need, or if that's what you want. So, she then explains to Angel that she feels that she's been punished for the awful life that she knew, the way she was in high school, the way she just said whatever she wanted to say when she wanted to say it, just because she knew she could get away with it, and she thinks that everything that's happened to her up to this point is punishment for that. And this apartment is her way of, like as I said earlier, her way of getting back to that life again. So the team, they start to research the building's history for a clue to who the ghost might be. The evidence points to Pod Mearson Pod and Mearson. Maud Pearson, even. They got the name from the arms above the. It's like a crest for the family name. And turns out she had bought the apartment block and took a unit in there as well. And they can't work out exactly why she would be haunting the building, because it wasn't a violent death. She dropped dead from a heart attack. While Doyle goes to pick up supplies for the exorcism, Angel finds out from Kate Lockley, the detective, that Maud Pearson having died of the heart attack, and her son Dennis, with whom she was fighting because she disapproved of his fiancée, vanished the same day, more or less. It seems clear to Angel that the son killed the mother, then skipped town with the girlfriend. But then, thinking about it, Angel learns that there were never been any murders reported in the apartment since that. But he says there's a type of killer that kills people and makes it look like they took their own life. So they look into that side of things, and it turns out there was a string of young girls that had taken their own lives in the apartment. Back at the office, Cordelia gets a call. The answer machine gets it. Then she comes on, of course, and the answer machine records the message. And it's Angel's voice saying, "Meet me at the apartment, we'll get this sorted out." But when she gets to the apartment, it turns out it's the ghost imitating Angel's voice. Angel and Doyle realising what happened, they find they come back there. Angel rings from the police station just as Doyle gets to the office, and he plays back the message to Angel, and Angel's like, "That's not my voice, I didn't leave that message." So they work out what's happened. So they head off to Cordelia's new apartment. She's in there, she's getting attacked by the ghost of Maud, and begins to reach the point of emotional collapse under the spate of abuse, targeting Cordelia's feelings of worthlessness. And this like electric cable comes down and like goes around her neck and lifts her off the ground. The ghost disappears, but just then Doyle and Angel arrive just in time to rescue her. They begin the exorcism without Cordelia, who's at this point she's like just on the floor in tears, sobbing due to the tormenting that this ghost has given her. She's just like, again, just pressing into everything that's going on in Cordelia's head. The feeling of being useless. She thinks she's getting punished by the universe for the bad person that she used to be. So the ghost is really pushing into this here, and she's really, seems like she's broken her at this point. Everything in the room is flying at this point. Just everything that isn't nailed down. There's just like a hurricane in the middle of the room as they're trying to do this exorcism. But they can't get it finished, and they decide to turn tail and leave. But the door to the apartment bursts open. 3 demons are there with guns, determined to kill Doyle, the guy the demon Angel thought he had made a deal with earlier in the episode. Turns up with 2 heavies with him, and a fight breaks out, of course. And the ghost of Maud is, she literally, using like telekinetic powers, pulls Cordelia back into the bedroom to continue tormenting her on her own. When Maud eventually calls Cordelia a bitch, it reminds Cordelia of her former reputation, and she begins to fight back, and she just turns into the classic Cordelia that we knew from like seasons 1 and 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where she's just like the big and bad girl from Sunnydale, and like, I'm not little cry Buffy, that sort of deal. And she's just like I'll tell you what's going to happen now. You're going to pack up your little ghost bags and you're going to get the hell out of my house. And the ghost disappears. This is kind of broken her power over Cordelia at this point. There's a psychic connection between the two, and it's like a doorway. You know, once a door has been opened, you can go through it. Like, it's not just a one-way door, it's like both ways. So like this connection lets the ghost screw with her, but equally it lets Cordelia screw back with the ghost. So the fight that's happening with Angel and these three demons and Doyle out in the living room of the apartment, Griff eventually gets his neck broken. One of the other guys gets stabbed by knives that Maud had thrown across the room. Yeah, so Cordelia comes out. Everything stops whenever she tells the ghost to get out. It breaks whatever's happening. Everything, it's the tornado of furniture that's flying around the room, falls to the ground. It's just one of the heavies runs, one's dead. Angel's taking care of Griff, and Cordelia walks out into the sitting room, and Angel, he's like, well, whatever you done, you must have found her centre and broke her spell. What happened? He's just like, well, she pissed me off. But just then, Cordelia is almost possessed. And her eyes fade over, the colour of her eyes kind of fade out slightly, and she goes into like a trance, and she lifts this lamp from the corner, this big long stand on it, and she starts hitting the wall with it. The wall that she had said earlier in the episode, well, that wall needs removed and then the whole place will be perfect. As she breaks through the wall, the bricks start to fall, and the ghost of Maud then appears again in the room, and she's looking worried and almost heartbroken. And as the wall falls apart, it exposes a rotten skeleton, and this presence of a second ghost starts to appear. And then we get a flashback that shows that what actually happened was Maud wasn't killed by her son Dennis, and Dennis ran away with a fiancée. Maud prevented Dennis from leaving with his fiancée by actually breaking him up alive behind this wall. And when she was finished it, Maud then had the heart attack and died. And she screams, in the present day ghost of Maud screams as she sees the skeleton, and the ghost of Dennis appears as like a weird skull and crossbones sort of a thing, and banishes the mother's ghost forever. Like, just the power of this thing goes through her, and she just disappears in the flash. So all's fine and well, everything's sorted. Angel reminds Doyle at the end of the episode that he's going to need to reveal his background at some point. During the episode, Angel was trying to get through to Doyle, why do you live this way? It's, people coming after you all the time, and Doyle, he's kind of running his life like a no-budget Godfather sort of thing. I do a favour for one person, and that person does a favour for me. It's a system that, checks and balances and whatnot, but some of his checks didn't balance. And he's been like, what's wrong with living like this? But at the end of the episode again, we have the little chat between Angel and Doyle, where it's like, we're going to have to reveal whatever's going on in your background, and Doyle agrees sometime. But back with Cordelia at her house, she's found her on her bitch again. She now feels comfortable speaking with her Sunnydale friends. Earlier in the episode, one of her friends tried to call her, and she was avoiding answering the call because just, again, on her head, complete and utter failure at this point. But now she's got this apartment, everything sorted out. She gets on the phone call, and she's having the old school Sunnydale chat with one of her friends. And she's like, I've got a roommate, but it's okay. I never see him. And at that point, there's a ton of Pepsi or Coke or something beside her. And it starts to slide across the desk the way a ghost would be messing about. It turns out it's the ghost of Dennis. He's got rid of his mother, but he stayed on in the apartment. But so he'd be doing things like moving stuff about, and she'd ask him to stop him on the phone, turn on the TV or the radio or something. It's like, no, Dennis, Phantom Dennis. Whenever I'm on the phone, that's quiet time. Then the TV will turn off again. So that's where the episode closes out at. It's a great little episode. As I say, I've just completely destroyed it for you here in this podcast. But again, one of those ones that you think is going to be one of the dud episodes, but it actually turns out to be fantastic. And Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia in this episode is fantastic. Her acting in this, pretty spot on. I think she's an underrated gem, I think, when it comes to acting. Because, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen her on recently that I think she's capable of far more. And you do get to see it in this run of Angel. You only got to see slight pieces of it in seasons 1 and 2 of Buffy. But whenever you get into the heavier emotional stuff with Cordelia's character, she's very, very good. And this is a great example of it in this episode. So, fantastic episode. And the entire series, I don't believe there's one dud episode. Just thinking back on it now, I've got clear memories of the Angel series and I have of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I can't recall any episodes on it where I would just say, no, you can skip over that one because it's not that good. Yeah, that's a great series. That's a great show, 5 seasons worth of it, and I'm sort of gutted that it only got the 5. Like, I think now, if memory serves, I think it might have been fell victim to one of the writer's strikes back in the day. I think it was cut short. If memory serves. Might be completely wrong, but I think that's what happened. Anyway, great little episode and a great series. I would highly recommend it to you. If you never seen the Angel spin-off, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and you did like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, yeah, this is definitely viewing that you need to go and check out. Right, guys, that's going to do it. So until the next episode, whatever you're doing, please stay safe. And if you want to get in contact with the show, Hellmouth Hotline, gmail.com, all that good stuff. Share it along, check out the website, coinsagemedia.com, and I will talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.